Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another segment of Generation Connections Digital History Project. Today, we're going to be talking about the history of the NFL. And first, I'll start with a brief overview of how the NFL was formed and the teams that were in it. And then I'll go into more of a storytelling format into actually what went into that first creation of the league. And finally, I'll end with an explanation of the first Super Bowl and how the Super Bowl came to be, which is the biggest game in the NFL at the end of the season, who determines the champion. So let's jump right into it. So this first part is from Britannica, and it describes the history of the NFL. So the league began play in 1920 and comprised of 5 teams from Ohio, 4 teams from Illinois, and 2 from Indiana, and then 1 from Michigan. Interestingly, of these original franchises, only 2 remain. The Cardinals left Chicago for St. Louis after the 1959 season, and then relocated to Arizona, where they preside today, in 1988. Meanwhile, the Decatur Staleys moved to Chicago in 1921, and then a year later, they changed their name to the Bears, the Chicago Bears, as they're currently called. After this first formation and the remaining teams, the NFL survived many years of instability and competition from rival organizations to become the strongest American professional football league. The most serious challenge to its leading role came from the American Football League, also known as the AFL, in the 1960s. And we'll talk about that a little more when we get into the Super Bowl portion of this NFL history. The NFL and AFL completed a merger in 1970 and creating a 26-team circuit under the name of NFL. Since then, the league has expanded 4 times, adding 6 new franchises. So that's bringing our total to the 32 teams that we have today. Next, we'll dive into a quick story about how the NFL was formed and the people that were involved within that. This is from history.com. The 14 men huddled inside the Jordan and Hubmobile automobile showroom in downtown Canton, Ohio on the night of September 17th, 1920. Were finally ready to strike a deal. They had come to this dealership not in search of a new set of wheels, however, but for a new professional football league to save them from themselves. By 1920, pro football remained thoroughly overshadowed by the college game, and the bastion confined mostly to small Midwestern and industrial cities. Even worse for the owners of teams, they were bleeding cash because of soaring player salaries and intense bidding wars as they poached players from other squads. The owners of these independent pro teams coveted a strong league such as the one baseball had, that would be Major League Baseball, to gain more control over the sport of football and their finances. Hay, who was the owner of the reigning Ohio League champion Canton Bulldogs, had invited representatives from 3 other in-state teams to an organizational meeting in his showroom. And the goal was to raise the standard of professional football in every way possible, to eliminate bidding for players between rival clubs, and to secure cooperation in the formation of schedules. A month later, the deal was ready to be struck. He gathered representatives from 11 professional football clubs sprinkled across Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, and New York. Unable to squeeze into his office, the football pioneers, including Jim Thorpe and George Halas, sat on the running boards of fenders of $3,000 cars on the showroom floor and grabbed cold beer bottles from an icy bucket as they hammered out an agreement. According to the minutes, the first sign of business was an inauspicious one, the withdrawal of a Massillon before the league even officially formed. Then the men moved on to a second proposal to form a confederation known as the American Professional Football Association, or the APFA, and this later became known as the NFL. And the new league needed a president, so they chose the 32-year-old Jim Thorpe, who was a star of the Canton Bulldogs. And after this was completed, the first game for the American Professional Football took place on September 26, 1920, at Douglas Park in Rock Island, Illinois. And the first game was actually a blowout. The hometown Independents flattened the State Paul Ideals by a score of 48-0. And the NFL's first season was actually very quickly forgotten in collective sports memory. And interestingly, the league's official rule books listed the 1920 championship, which would be the first championship of the NFL, as undecided until the 1970s. So that's a little bit about the formation of the actual National Football League, but that was more of an old time league and doesn't really represent what the National Football League looks like today. And to get there, we have to talk about the Super Bowl and then the formation and merger of the National Football League and the American Football League. So this is from ABC News, and it gives a nice history of the beginning of the Super Bowl and how it came to be between the National Football League and the American Football League. With professional football's popularity on the rise in the late 1950s, the American Football League was founded in 1959 to compete with and bring football to new markets. So the AFL had teams from areas like Houston, Buffalo, and Kansas City, and they actually were able to seal away top talent from the NFL. The two separate leagues decided to merge in 1966, but they didn't play each other in the regular season until 1970. And they did create a championship for the separate leagues to begin in and compete in, so the AFL versus the NFL, and determine who was the best team in all of professional football that year. And that was started in 1966. Interestingly, it wasn't called the Super Bowl, the biggest game. It was actually just called the first AFL-NFL championship game. And the game, in that game, the first Super Bowl, the Green Bay Packers, which, as you can see back here, I'm a pretty big fan of, defeated the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 35-10. And the first Super Bowl was not really as big of a deal as it is today. So that just kind of shows the evolution of the National Football League and how it has grown in popularity to where it is today. Some interesting facts about it. It wasn't even that big of a deal at the time because it was broadcasted on two networks who used their own announcers, and it wasn't even a sellout. It was actually the only Super Bowl in history that wasn't a sellout. The average ticket cost was around $12. And finally, I'll leave you with another fun fact. So the halftime show featured a famed trumpeter and then also men with jetpacks flying around. So it wasn't quite as organized as the spectacles we see today in the Super Bowl halftime shows, but it's really interesting to look back on the history of the NFL and to see how it has grown throughout the years to what it is today. Thanks, hope you enjoyed the video.